Okay, wow. We have a big article to discuss and break down this morning, you guys, courtesy of The Athletic. It discusses Thomas Tuchel and his 1-year anniversary. We learn about things Tuchel can do to assure that he doesn't become yet again another Chelsea manager that finds himself sacked. We're going to be discussing some positives, some negatives, and some controversies surrounding attacking players in the squad too. Hope you guys are ready. Hope you guys keep open minds. And before I get into anything, I need to get one big plug out of the way first. Today's video is brought to you by SPITCH, the ultimate new fantasy manager app, new on the market, which allows you to fulfill their managerial fantasies, you guys. Build and manage your own squads, compete against your friends, or compete against other players and communities where every week there's a share of up to 70k that can be won. Like I said, if you know your ball, there's an opportunity here for you to test the app out for free, see how you find it, or if you really feel confident about your skills and your understanding, put a little bit of cash in and see how far you go. Of course, as you guys have been seeing on screen, this is the lineup that I've been using. But one thing that I really wanted to stress today, is registration, because that is the final thing you have to do, because you have to prove your identity that you are 18 plus. Registering is super easy, it's super quick. Once the ID is processed, it takes no time, and then after that, you're free to do things to your own will. I'm hoping a few more people now start to do it, because I want to create my own community page there where we can compete against each other on Blue Lines TV. So of course, you guys can find a link below in the description. Download SPITCH, try it out for free. I guarantee you guys will like it. And getting back to the main video, now you start with things, and this is a highly detailed article. I don't want to just break down every single point there. I'm going to focus on the main points from the article. There will be a link in the description. I'm always going to encourage you guys to read these things for yourselves, form your own opinion. Don't just take what I'm saying or what others are saying for words. But to start with things, I want to discuss some of the positives that was discussed in the article, because this was definitely a balanced account and maybe an accurate account of life currently with the squads under Thomas Tuchel. For the second part, I will be discussing the controversies that were detailed in the article, so I hope you guys definitely enjoy watching the end. But we start with things, and I really felt like the first part of the article discusses Tuchel's unique and excellent man management of the squads. In football, as I like to say a lot of the times too, it's not just about managers having to do tactics. You're a manager. You're managing, your personnel, your staff, your players as well too, and to manage them properly and effectively, to get them performing at 100% of their best capabilities. You need to, be in tune with their emotional side, their mental side, understand the players, their boundaries. Build like a united squads with one united philosophy, and these were a lot of the positive things that we got more insight into in this article. For example, Tuchel allowed the team to have 2 days off before this must-win game against them, and at the time it was believed that with players constantly training, playing games during a very congested Christmas period as well too, you're not really seeing your family, you just focus 100% on your work. There was a belief that maybe some players or players in general were feeling a bit sick and tired of constantly being around each other 24/7. And I can understand that. It's a very high pressure environment where you come to work every day to win, and when you don't do that, the pressure mounts and piles up. So this was definitely a great example of Tuchel's excellent man management. As the players returned back, they had a late training session on a Sunday, and they felt reinvigorated, they felt positive, the mood had lifted a bit too, and I think that was reflected in our amazing performance against Spurs a few days ago. We learned a lot about Tuchel's character as a man as well too, with some really nice extracts coming from one of our reserve keepers, and Marcus Bettinelli. Marcus said that Tuchel is probably the best ever manager that he's worked with, and it's not just because of his great tactical work and how thorough and detailed he is with that. It's the fact that he wants to understand people on a personal human level, which is, a really big thing to see as well too. He did say that Tuchel does have his angry moments, which I will touch upon later on in this video. However, Marcus praised him for just how respectful he is. Doesn't matter if you're working as a staff member, caterer, one of the squads, one of the groundsmen, etc. He speaks to everyone on that base level, and he prides himself on being a nice guy that leads by example and actually wants to get to know people that he's around with, which for me is just amazing to hear. And as Marcus says, it helps to create this family bond and mentality, which kind of reduces the pressure behind the scenes, which is good to see. Getting into further detail, creating that family bond is definitely a key thing for Tuchel. When he first came, all the same time last year, we know that the players came out and made public statements of, the dressing room dynamics, how they want to improve, how united they are, etc., etc. I definitely feel that Tuchel played a big part towards that. And to use an example, under previous management, Lampard had a fine system in place where you would get fined depending on how long you were late for. Tuchel, on the other hand, does not do that. He doesn't care if you come 1 minute before or 1 minute afterwards. He's not here to patronize these guys. He understands that they are adults, they are grown men. And to build a strong family unit, everyone has to respect each other's boundaries and accept certain values as well too. Then players kind of manage themselves and they don't want to perform underneath that. So for me, very effective management. Now's the time to discuss the controversies highlighted in this article. The article starts off by discussing the two things that normally get managers sacked, and that is results, of course, and player power. Now, we heard about some of the positive things about Tuchel's mentality. We heard a few, negative things as well too. I mean, everyone's a human being. No one's just like only ever positive or only ever negative. I mean, like I said, we're human beings. I think you guys know what I mean by that. But as Bettinelli did state, Tuchel is someone that won't hold back on his words. And we learned in this article that some of his criticism has been particularly brutal towards maybe some of the attacking players. But, as Bettinelli tried to say himself too, when we come to training, we are here to work. Tuchel separates having to be professional and work from that human side and that emotive side, which for me is the balance that you do need to have. Of course, Tuchel is a perfectionist. We've seen this guy on the touchlines. Alonso! Like, how many times have we seen Tuchel do that? How many times have we seen frustration in his face when the pass isn't played properly, if it's overhit, etc., etc.? Now, you're not doing that. You don't take your professionalism seriously. So, like I said, this is nothing really to feel any type of way about. However, moving on, we did get further context surrounding some issues with the attacking players in the team. Now, of course, this was kind of hinted towards us in Lukaku's infamous interview from last month. Well, it seems that Lukaku isn't the only player to have some personal frustration behind how they're used. The report states that a lot of attacking players aren't too happy based on how they've been used, with a lot of players actually strongly considering leaving in this next summer window. I mean, that's quite mad to be hearing things like this, especially after our successes recently and the amount of finals that we found ourselves in as well too. But there has been one particular criticism, and that has been on the amount of rotation in attack, which includes how they've been used personally and in terms of the tactical role that they're playing in the team too. One thing that was mentioned is that it makes it very hard for players to build an understanding with each other, and the consequence of how they've been used is that none of the attacking players really play to their natural instincts. And this has been something that I've been trying to say beforehand a lot of times. When we look at our attacking players, like for example, look at Ziyech. How often do we see those key Ziyech moves, like the switch balls, of the lofted through balls over the top, him cutting inside to take shots? Look at Pulisic. How many times have we seen him running in field and taking his man on? Someone like Kai Havertz as well too. Lukaku. There's been many examples of attacking players who are doing their bit for the system, over the system helping to bring out the best qualities in their individual game. Because a lot of these guys are doing things alien to what we signed them from, it means that when they do play with a lot of caution. They don't want to lose the ball necessarily. They do go for the safe option quite a lot of times, which we have seen ourselves over and over and over. And all of this combined with the fact that, you're playing with different teammates literally every single week. We've seen 11 different attacking combinations used by Thomas Tuchel since, which is a ton. Then you can see why some dissent could creep in behind the scenes. For me, it's really simple to understand players of this nature at this level. It's not that hard. Guys like this that sign for clubs like us, they have their own personal career goals of wanting to rank high for goals, for assists, to be number one for passing metrics, stat metrics, etc., etc. And when they can't get those numbers because they feel like they're not being used to their best capacity in the system they're playing in, then after a while, when you're not winning games anymore, the reality is going to resurface. We got some more context behind other dissent in terms of contractual situations. Now, I've been alluding to this again as well. Most of our attacking players, all of them are the highest wage earners in the club. They get the best contracts, the biggest ones, and they're really prioritized more than other players who play maybe more of a important role and a bigger impact in terms of the successes the team have had recently. Not surprised why we're seeing Aspi, Christensen, Rudiger still haven't agreed to sign new deals at this point in time. And now that players know each other's wage packets are on as well, that's also causing a bit of tension behind the scenes as well. And for the last piece of tension to discuss, there have been some inconsistencies, with the report saying that some players are starting to see through things now for what they really are, with an issue being one rule for some and a different rule for others. I wonder who some of these players could be. I'm looking at guys like maybe like Kai Havertz, Timo Werner, Christian Pulisic. I haven't seen Kai Havertz playing much at all recently, and I've always felt like in particular he's been one of the most key players that have really suffered in terms of not really having any strong role in the team that allows him to really play to his best abilities. So that would be very interesting to see, but I'd imagine the guys who aren't playing right now probably have the most to say. Now, to get things right, of course, the respect is still there for Tuchel. There's no mutiny happening or being plotted on behind the scenes. If anything, this is just an authentic, accurate picture of the mentality of the squad right now and the dynamics happening behind the scenes. I mean, I can say that I have heard little bits here and there too recently, so this article came as no surprise to me, and it felt like this eventually was going to come out. Now I'm going to give my personal thoughts and opinions behind this article, and to be honest, I am not surprised whatsoever. As I'm really trying to stress here, for me, attacking players and that lack of consistency that we've seen over the past 12 months was forever going to be an issue that would resurface. A lot of these things I've said in many videos beforehand, especially in reviews where we've not got the results that we wanted. And like I said, if they don't feel like they can perform in the system and play to their instincts and their best qualities and traits, if that isn't coming out in the system, then naturally there will be tension happening behind the scenes. And I think that Tuchel understands that. Hence some of the differences system-wise we have been seeing over these past few games with the introduction of a back four system. Tuchel, one thing that really screamed out to me the loudest in this article was his mentality, his philosophy, and how he believes in the togetherness of the team and the squad. Of course, that means that if you really, really believe this, then you yourself would know when you have to adapt for yourself to get the best out of the team. And I definitely think this is the stage that Tuchel is currently in. After the game against Spurs, for example, and an admission that, yes, playing Ziyech down the right-hand side probably is his best position. Admitting that, yeah, he understands what these players need. However, the system has been coming first. And I do think maybe, for me, it was starting to reach a state of imbalance where basically all our wins were due to the system instead of the players in the system making something happen. Everything was quite textbook. There wasn't much individuality or expression. The amount of passing moves were quite identical and quite samey. And I guess like this whole focus on minimizing counterattacks and not exposing yourself, in the end made it harder for the attacking players who, as I'm always saying all the time, I'm really seeing these guys just making runs here, creating overloads there, runs in behind there, not really influencing and taking the game by the scruff of its neck. And of course, Tuchel is going to know this. I mean, for God's sake, the guy's used how many different formations over the years. I've always felt like naturally he was going to go back to a back four. But I guess now with, recent tensions happening behind the scenes, it's a perfect time now to readdress what's happening and find a new balance that gets the best out of everyone. Football can be black and white sometimes. If all your most expensive players happen to be attacking players on the biggest contracts out of anyone in the squad, then they're naturally going to take a bit of prioritization. And if they can't feel happy with the football they're playing, that's going to be made abundantly clear. Do I feel like this is like a destructive story and that maybe some of the players are snakes, etc., etc.? No. I just think now, because it's not the first time I've read stories like this. Listen, I'm a Chelsea fan for years and years. I remember the times when Drogba, Lampard, Terry are part of the squad. The stories coming out back then, like if those same stories were being released today, I don't think a lot of people would be able to hack it, to be honest. So, I just accept that this is natural life and this is what the ecosystem's like when you're, in a club like this who has ambitions of winning, trophies, titles, you have that pressure. When you have a squad of 25 competitors, it's only natural that all the tension will be exclusively based on how they're being used and whether they're able to play their best football. I don't think players are that hard, to be honest. We found our successes with this back three system, but we've also seen that it has its limitations, and I think we can accept that we wouldn't be able to win a league, regardless if we had all our full strength players. We wouldn't be able to win a league playing exclusively like this. So the fact that we're seeing more formational flexibility can only give us more tactical edges, and hopefully with the addition of Tuchel's excellent man management style, where he knows when to be tough on the players, when to be open, and when to foster that togetherness spirit that you need to rely upon, especially in the Premier League. But I definitely feel like this is a test that Tuchel will probably easily pass with flying colours. And then when the summer comes and maybe some smarter choices can be made and maybe tailoring the squad more into Tuchel's image, then we're going to really see things happening next summer, you guys. But anyway, that's my thoughts and opinions behind this article, of course, in the comments. Of course, in the comments, share yours as well. I have to read them, you guys. And on that note, I'm the EFC, this is Blue Line CV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.